So the reason that we have these hadiths today is because the muhaddithun went through the effort of collecting hadiths of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, not just the wording, the different variations from the different narrators. Yahya ibn Ma'in rahmatullahi alayhi, his story is coming up very shortly. He passed away in 233. He used to say, write a hadith khamsina marra. I got taught after 16. 7 and 8 and 8 or 8 and 7 and 8. I got taught after 15. He said, if you want to understand a hadith, write it 50 times. Meaning, this hadith from this person, all the different variations. Write it 50 times. And he doesn't exaggerating, he does it himself. So write it 15 times. فَإِنَّ لُ آفَاتٌ كَثِيرًا. So you can know who made a mistake, who didn't make a mistake, whose narration said this, who's dropped a word, who's added a word, who may miss a narrator, who said an by mistake, who said akhbarana by mistake. Write all 50, not with computer, not with Microsoft, not with copy and paste, by hand on paper. Write it 50 times. Then you'll understand, all right, what's the variations? What's happening here? Imam Ahmad rahmatullahi alayhi, he says, al-hadith idha lam tujma' turuqaha, or lam tajma' turuqahu, lam tafhamhu. Unless you put them together, you will not be able to understand how this hadith, what is really happening. Just the words. Then to derive masail by the fuqaha, another chapter on its own. But just to get the variations and to understand what we have in front of us. He said, write it 50 times. He said, write it, you have to write all of them. Abu Hatim al-Razi says that if we don't write hadith 60 times, we wouldn't get the full gist of what is being said. Now, the same Yahya ibn Ma'in, he says here, Ibn Hibban narrates a story. He says that Yahya ibn Ma'in, what did he do? He went to Affan, a narrator. Went to Affan, narrator. And he said, I want to hear the hadith of Hammad. So Hammad's got a book, and Affan, he had the chain. So Affan had heard from his teachers, and he had this book of Hammad. So he was a student of Hammad. It's Affan. So Yahya ibn Ma'in went to Affan and said, I want to hear from you. So Affan said to him, have you not heard it from anybody? Because this is a very famous book. Have you not heard it? So Yahya ibn Ma'in said, I've heard it 17 times already. I've heard the book of Hammad, where Hammad narrates his rahmatullahi alayhi, his chains and his ahadith to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I've heard his book 17 times. 17 times. I want to hear it again. So Affan got vexed. He said, go. He said, I'm not going to narrate for you. Wallahi la hadith, because you're just wasting my time. He didn't give up. He's already got the 17 readings to see. He said he went to, from there all the way to Basra. I think Yahya ibn Ma'in was from Iraq, in that area. He went to Basra. He went to Musa ibn Ismail, rahmatullahi. And he said, I want to hear from you. Same question. Have you not heard this hadith? He says, yes, I've heard these hadiths. 17 people. He says here, now I want you to be the 18th. He says, why? Why are you doing all of this? Yahya ibn Ma'in, rahmatullahi alayhi, said that sometimes you have mistakes. You have mistakes. And if we collect more variations we can assert a certain itminan of our qalb, we can be certain to a certain extent that this is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. He said this, but his variation different from his variation. We can see where the mistake is stemming from. We can branch it all off, draw it free. We can see who said what. But this is how they narrated the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. There's one person you think, oh, like, you're wasting your time. All of these narrations and sanad and asanid. There's one hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, hadith is Anas ibn Malik radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. He was about 7, 8 when the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in Medina Munawwara. And his mother Sulaym, she sent him to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You save Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you serve him as long as you can. He's Khuwaidim. So he had a brother. He had a young brother. So this young boy, is his brother, he had a small little bird. And the bird passed away. He used to play with the little bird, a little pet. And the bird passed away. So when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saw him, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, Ya Aba Umair, oh Umair, ma fa'ala nughair. What happened to your small little bird? He's a bit sad. So he said, ma fa'ala nughair, cheer him up. Now this hadith is, Ya Aba Umair, ma fa'ala nughair. You're asking about what happened to your pet bird. That's it. And the muhaddithun would narrate this hadith. Some people said to them, you guys are wasting your time. You're wasting your time going around, and this has nothing, not salah, there's no zakah, there's no hajj, there's no iman, there's no akhlaq, there's nothing, just ya Aba Umair, ma fa'ala nughair. So when somebody challenges you, the ulama say we can challenge you. We're ready for the challenge. So when you see anything today, anybody has a new question, we have been having questions for 1400 years. Whenever a question comes, they've all died off. Have you ever heard any question which is still really problematic? All been solved. Sometimes it takes time. Like we never thought of this question. We meaning the ulama. You never thought of this question. But it brings up a question. Bring a question on the Hadith. Bring a question on the Quran. Bring a question on Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Anything you want. Ulama already. It takes some time. You may not know the answer. Sometimes the answers are already there. You can find them. If you have any questions, sometimes people hear one bayan or one not bayan, one clip from an atheist or one clip from a modernist or one clip from somebody raising a question. They have all these doubts. The answers are there. If anything that's 1400 years, it's standing the test of time. If you don't know the answer, maybe you haven't found the answer. Or if you don't know the answer, maybe people haven't thought like this before, so that's why they never went into this. They'll find the answer. Maybe in a couple of months, you see that the ulama printed a book saying this is the answer to all your questions. So here, he said, okay, you want to question us? What's about Umayr? Ma fa'ala nughair? What's the point of this? He wrote a book. And Ibn al-Qas, he wrote a book, and he says here, he wrote a book called Fawaidu Hadith Abi Umayr. Just that one. Ya Aba Umayr, ma fa'alan nughair. He wrote a book. How many masail do you think he brought from this? Come on, chalo. How many? Ji, Brother Saeed, how many? 70. You cheated. You cheated. 60. MashaAllah, good guess. 60 masail. He got 60 masail from this small little hadith. Ya Aba Umayr, ma fa'ala nughair. We're not wasting our time. When we collect the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, benefits. Everything comes together. 60 masail. He's taken out from these two words. Ya Aba Umayr, ma fa'ala nughair. And again, we go on and long. Talaba, your homework. Gee, even those who finish. Abdullah. Hud. Fi hadith al-wudu. Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj. There's a hadith where there's a word an inside. So when you have haddathana, it means he told us. Haddathana. Haddathana, he narrated to us. And an means from. So if I say, haddathani Muhammad, that means Muhammad told me. I say, an Muhammad said. Did he tell me? Did I hear it? It's not clear. So one hadith had the word an from Rawi number A to B. So A said it is narrated from B. This I heard it. For this, Hajjaj went to confirm this hearing. Did he hear it or not? He traveled from Kufa to Makkah to Medina back to Kufa just to figure out, is it actually from him or not from him? Those are the talaba can go and look at. Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj rahmatullahi alayh. He's traveling for hadith al-wudu. Go and look at your homework inshallah.